Hey, what's happening, people? This is Devansh and welcome to the United Talk. We have to talk about a lot of things today. We have to talk about Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham, Paul Pogba, Jack Grealish, and Donny van de Beek. But before everything else, Premier League is finally back. It's back in less than 3 days now. I mean, today is a Sunday and it's back on Wednesday. So it's been a long day without you, my friend. That's how excited I am. That's how happy I am. And I know all of you are happy as well, excited as well. But before we get into the Premier League, I think we have to talk about these five players today. And let's start with Jadon Sancho. Of course, Jadon Sancho, the guy who we've been linked with since I remember last. And there's no new update. I'll tell you something very honestly. I can tell you the same story in five different ways. The story is going to remain the same. Manchester United are interested. Jadon Sancho wants to leave. United are front runners in the race to sign Sancho, and nothing is going to happen till the time we don't finish our Premier League season. So that's that. But interestingly, the coach, not the head coach, but I think the training coach or something like that, someone like that from Borussia Dortmund came out and said recently, I think yesterday, that they're expecting Jadon Sancho to actually stay at Borussia Dortmund, and people are actually reading into those comments a little bit more than what's required, because let me be honest here. Of course, they expect Jadon Sancho to stay, but there's a big difference between expectations and reality. And the reality is Jadon Sancho wants to leave. If he wanted to stay at Borussia Dortmund, he would have signed a new contract, but he doesn't. He wants to leave Borussia Dortmund, whether it's for Chelsea, United, Real Madrid. We don't know. We think it's Man United, but you never know. But yes, we don't need to really worry about what the comments were made about Jadon Sancho and him leaving Borussia Dortmund, because yes, he does want to leave Borussia Dortmund. There might be a situation though that United might not be able to pay up 100 million or 100 plus million, whatever Borussia Dortmund is wanting for Jadon Sancho, and he might just end up staying for one more year. I mean, it's a very less possibility, because in that case, Jadon Sancho will have to push through for a move. I don't know how much will he do that? Will he actually do that or not? But yes, we do know that he wants to leave the club. The second news about Sancho is that Liverpool are in the race to sign him, and we've talked about this in the previous video as well. I would be surprised if Liverpool are in the race to sign Jadon Sancho, because if they were not going for a player that they have been talking to since past 4 months, if they cannot cough up 50 million for that player who they really want, who's 24, who's one of the best strikers, who has the possibility to become one of the best strikers in the world in the next 3 years, and he's very good, Timo Werner. And if they did not go for Timo Werner, how in the world will they go for Jadon Sancho? I don't see it happening. I don't. So yes, the story remains the same. 70% Jadon Sancho to Manchester United, yes, but you never know in football. You never know with Ed Woodward and the negotiators. So yes, it's still only 70%. But let's keep that Borussia Dortmund in mind, that club in mind, and let's move to Jude Bellingham, because there have been stories that Jude Bellingham has actually chosen Borussia Dortmund over Manchester United. Now, let's not pretend that we did not want Jude Bellingham. He came to Carrington, he talked to Sir Alex Ferguson, he talked to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually, I mean, it's rumors, but I don't know what's the reality. But I mean, it's been said that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer even went ahead and told him that if he joins Manchester United, he will be fighting for the spot in the first team in that central midfield. And I don't buy that. I really don't. Even if Solskjaer has said that, if I'm Jude Bellingham, I would still go for a Borussia Dortmund than Manchester United. Now, there are two reasons for it, and please don't kill me, United fans. I love Manchester United, but there are two reasons why I say that. One, it's a 16-year-old player who's played 30 plus games in the championship, right? Oh, where's this mosquito coming from? Anyway, this 16-year-old kid has actually played 30 plus games in the championship, and he needs to keep developing. He needs to keep learning, and if he needs to learn, if he needs to develop, he needs to play games constantly. And do you think he'll be able to play enough games at Manchester United for his development at the age of 16 or 17? I mean, do you think he'll actually be preferred over Nemanja Matic, Fred, or Scott McTominay in that midfield? And please remember, we also have Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba for that midfield spot. And then we are also in talks to buy Jack Grealish and Donny van de Beek. So even if those players do come to United, we already have 5 first team players. And then you have the likes of Jimmy Garner waiting, who might just go out on loan. But I mean, you have players who are waiting to start in that midfield role. Do you think Jude Bellingham will start 30 games or will play in 30 games this season or the next season? No, I don't think so. Secondly, do you even want Jude Bellingham to play 30 games next season? I don't, because he's 16 years old. I mean, he's 16 years old. See, he might become the best midfielder or the best player in the world in the next 4 years or next 6 years. But in the next 4 years, he's going to be 20. In the next 6 years, he's going to be 22. Marcus Rashford is 22. You don't know how he's going to develop in the next 6 years or the next 4 years, right? You don't know what you're going to get with Jude Bellingham. Right now, he's a prospect. He's one of the best prospects in England, and he has the capability of becoming the best player in the world. But it's a prospect. It's a youth prospect. So I don't want him to start 30 games this season, and I don't see him starting. So if you look at this decision from Jude Bellingham's point of view, he wants to play, and Borussia Dortmund are more likely to give him more playing time than Manchester United. That's number one. Now the argument is that Manchester United have actually also developed a lot of players. They have developed. I mean, look at historically we have developed Scholes, Beckham, Giggs, the Gary Nevilles, the Nicky Butts. And then more recently, we have developed players like Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood. We are developing Scott McTominay. Yes, we have done the same thing that Borussia Dortmund does. I mean, but if you look at the players that Borussia Dortmund have developed and sold, they are right now developing or have developed Jadon Sancho. They have developed Hakimi, who's on loan from Real Madrid. In more recent years, they have developed Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. They have developed Henrik Mkhitaryan, and they have also developed Ousmane Dembele and sold to Barcelona for more than 100 million. So if you look at Borussia Dortmund's track record, it's equal to Manchester United, I would say. I mean, they do end up developing players. So it all boils down to the playing opportunities that Jude Bellingham will get at Manchester United versus he will get at Dortmund. And I don't give a shit about the story that United have sold him or tried to sell him on, or what the story Borussia Dortmund has given him, XYZ. I don't care about that, because in the end, for a 16-year-old, the most important thing is to learn and to play and to keep learning. And that I feel he thinks he has a better opportunity of getting more playing time at Borussia Dortmund than Manchester United. And I don't think we can blame him to not choose Manchester United. You can't do that. So that's the reason why I feel he might just choose Borussia Dortmund over Manchester United. But it proposes it gives you another dilemma, right? Because that Jude Bellingham, he's not a player that we were looking at and we said, oh, if we don't get Jude Bellingham, we have another replacement lined up, because he's not that kind of a player. He's not the player that, would have started this year or even next year, right? So, that 30 million that we were saving or would have saved for Jude Bellingham now can it be, if Jude Bellingham doesn't come to Man United, can it be used to buy someone else? Because it doesn't look like Paul Pogba is leaving. We don't think that because the Paul Pogba situation now is very interesting, and it's all linked together. It's all joined together. Now, if Jude Bellingham doesn't come to United, we have the 30 million that we had saved for Jude Bellingham, and if he does come to Man United, that means we might just buy Jadon Sancho and Jude Bellingham and get done with it. That's it. That's the transfer window for us, because that's all we can spend, because our net spends need to be 70 million. So if you pay about 30 odd million for Jude Bellingham, 80-90 million for Jadon Sancho, that's 120 million right there. And then you sell players worth 40 million, and then that's how you do it. That's how you do it, and that's it. But if Jude Bellingham doesn't come, then you look at the Paul Pogba situation. Now, Paul Pogba looks like he'll be staying at Man United this season. And let me talk about Van de Beek as well when I mentioned Paul Pogba, simply because of the fact that Van de Beek to Real Madrid was more or less done. Before this pandemic happened, Real Madrid were willing to pay 50 million for Van de Beek. Ajax had accepted that. The personal terms were agreed. The only thing that was left for Van de Beek was to sign the papers. That did not happen, of course, right? Because the transfer window was not open. And now, because of the pandemic, the reason why Real Madrid could have or would have afforded or got a Van de Beek is because they were also willing to sell Gareth Bale and even James Rodriguez, right? Two players right over there. And the wages that Gareth Bale is on, it's huge. It's 600,000 a week. That's crazy, right? So while now, who's going to buy Gareth Bale after the pandemic? Who's going to buy James Rodriguez? I don't see anyone buying James Rodriguez or Gareth Bale. And even if Inter come along and say, okay, we want James Rodriguez, which I don't know why will they do that, because they already have Eriksen in that position. But even if somebody does take James Rodriguez, Gareth Bale is still there. I don't think Real Madrid have enough money now to even spend 50 million. And that's the problem, because if Van de Beek wanted to go to Real Madrid suddenly don't have the money because of the pandemic. They wanted to buy Mbappe, Pogba, Van de Beek. They have the money to do so. Maybe they're going to go for Mbappe next year, Pogba next year. Van de Beek is not going to wait for one more year at Ajax. And are we the second choice for Donny van de Beek? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. The only thing is, if we are, what happens if in the next 3 years, Van de Beek comes to Manchester United, plays for 3 years, plays well, develops, and at the age of 25, 26, when he's about to reach his peak, he decides, oh, you know what? Let me pack my bags, go to Real Madrid, play with Paul Pogba over there. We are not that kind of a club. We are not a selling club. We should not be selling our best players. And if Donny van de Beek comes to Manchester United, he's going to be our best player. My only thing with this transfer is, first of all, I don't even think it's going to happen because I feel we would rather go for a Grealish than a Van de Beek. Now you can have your opinion on that, and both players are good players, but of course Donny van de Beek is a little bit better than Jack Grealish. I would personally prefer Jack Grealish because I feel he's Premier League proven. He we are buying from a club who wants to sell, who needs to sell, and we are buying a player who has something to prove. We're buying a player who has that there's tenacity about him. He's tenacious. Van de Beek is a world-class player, don't get me wrong, and some of you might prefer Van de Beek. I think a lot of you would prefer Donny van de Beek, and I'm not disagreeing with that. It's just a personal choice. That's your opinion. That's great. But with Grealish and Van de Beek, and with Pogba's situation, because if Pogba doesn't sign a new contract, he's leaving next year. And if we don't end up signing anything apart from Jadon Sancho, or anyone, sorry, apart from Jadon Sancho, then next year we're in the market for a striker, a replacement for Paul Pogba, that may be Jack Grealish or Donny van de Beek. And mind you, these players next year might already be at some other club, at a new club. So there's no surety that Van de Beek and Grealish will be available next year. And then we might also be in the market to buy a defensive midfielder, right? So it's this situation is weird, and Manchester United need to actually plan out their transfers really well. Personally, I feel that Manchester United, apart from Jadon Sancho, which is an obvious transfer that they need to do, they also need to get, if they get a Jude Bellingham, that's great. He's one for the future after 4 years, maybe, or after even 2 years. You never know. But apart from that, they need to get Paul Pogba replacement this year. And you know what? Even if Paul Pogba doesn't leave, even if Paul Pogba ends up signing a new contract, Paul Pogba, I mean, while he can play in that number 10 position, and we know what destruction he can do in that position, he's actually never played there. Not for Manchester United, not for Juventus, and neither for France. I mean, he's always played in a deeper position and has played as a deep line playmaker. It's his position, and he's not the number 10. He's actually a box to box midfielder. I mean, we would love to see him in a number 10 role because he doesn't like the defensive part of the game. He loves to attack. He can do different things. But one of Paul Pogba's strengths is also to run with the ball, and he's not gonna do that at the in the number 10 position. He's gonna do that in the number 8 position as a deep line playmaker. He can make those passes, long passes. He can actually run with the ball and come near the box and shoot from a distance. So these are the attributes that Paul Pogba has, and with Paul Pogba playing in that deeper position with a Fred or a Matic or a McTominay, you still only have Bruno Fernandes in the number 10 role. And please don't tell me that you also have Andres Pereira. I know he scored a goal against West Brom, 2 goals against West Brom. I don't give a shit. He's not Man United quality. So we technically do not have any replacement for Bruno Fernandes yet, even if Paul Pogba does end up staying. So we do need someone like a Jack Grealish or a Donny van de Beek who can come in, play in that role, and also play, if required, on the right hand side or the left hand side, overload the midfield, whatever it is. But we do need depth in our squad, just like the way Man City has. That's how you're gonna compete for trophies, 3 or 4 trophies every season. That's how you're gonna do it. But with all said and done, we have to wait and see, because even the Jadon Sancho deal is not finalized yet. And trust me, I'll be sad if Sancho doesn't come to United this season, but I won't be surprised. I mean, we desperately need a right winger. That's the priority position for us. And after that, a striker position. Now, we're not going to get a striker because of the Igalo deal, but we do desperately need a right winger. If Jadon Sancho doesn't come to United and United end up buying Jack Grealish and end up using him on the right hand side, that'll be stupidity. Complete and utter failure from Manchester United hierarchy if they do end up doing that. But it's a possibility, because you can never trust Ed Woodward. He's done some good deals in the past year, getting Bruno Fernandes and everything. But those deals, I mean, what have they taught us? They've taught us that Man United take their own sweet time to do a particular deal. And the problem is their own sweet time means there's a delayed, there's a lot of delay. And I mean, all the excitement of the transfer just goes away because of the time we take to do a particular deal. And that's a big problem. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I am skeptical about each and every deal, but I do feel that Sancho is a must for United. Even a Jack Grealish or a Donny van de Beek is a must. I feel it's gonna be Jack Grealish because Donny van de Beek rumors are just to give a kick to Real Madrid on the backside, saying that, boss, you know what, Manchester United are interested. Why don't you just pay the money right now up front and just take Donny van de Beek? Because United and Ajax have good relations, but Real Madrid actually were in the market for Van de Beek before us. And it's only because Real Madrid cannot afford or not wanting Van de Beek anymore, and that's the reason why we have come in. Again, I mean, if Van de Beek comes to Man United, I'll be very happy. But I think it's going to be Jack Grealish. So do let me know, what do you think about these things, guys? What do you think about the Jude Bellingham situation, the Grealish and the Van de Beek situation? If you like the video, I would really appreciate it if you press the like button. And if you really love the video, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We are going to do another video in the next 2 days or so about the predictions of the Man United versus Tottenham game, the predicted lineups and everything. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to sing some more. We're going to hope that United does make the top 4 because that's the ultimate requirement. But till that time, guys, take care and stay safe.